At Mother's Day dinner, my sister locked my 9-year-old daughter outside with the cake she bought from her own savings and said, "Your little beggar belongs outside. Her cake belongs in the trash." My parents watched through the window and let her cry on the porch until the candles melted. I stayed silent. 5 hours later, their family group chat turned into panic they never saw coming. The cake box was warm against Tessa's hands. She carried it with both arms, the way a 9-year-old carries something she is afraid to drop, her chin resting on the edge of the lid, her sneakers scuffing the sidewalk in small, careful steps. The box was from Bellini's Bakery on Thurston Avenue. Strawberry cake with buttercream frosting. Pink letters across the top, "Happy Mother's Day, Grandma." She had picked the design herself, standing at the counter with a Ziploc bag of coins and crumpled bills, counting out $23.47 while the woman behind the register waited. 4 months of saving. Dishes after dinner, folding laundry on Saturdays, sweeping the porch every Sunday, and $1 from Ramona's purse every time Tessa remembered to feed the cat without being asked. She kept the money in a mason jar on her dresser with a piece of masking tape on the side that read Grandma's Cake Fund in purple marker. The morning she emptied the jar at Bellini's counter, she smoothed the receipt flat and tucked it into her jacket pocket. She patted the pocket twice on the way to the car. "That receipt is in my wallet right now. It will be there for a long time." We pulled into my parents' driveway at 4:45 p.m. on Mother's Day. Boyd and Lucille's house, the one I spent 3 years renovating with my own hands, sat at the end of Maple Lane with new gutters, new porch boards, and a bathroom I replumbed from the subfloor up. Ramona squeezed Tessa's shoulder from the back seat. "You did good, baby. Grandma is going to love it." Tessa smiled the way she smiles when she believes something completely. My sister Portia was already inside. Her Lexus was parked across 2 spaces in the driveway, the way it always was. Through the front window, I could see her kids, her husband Wesley, and my parents sitting around the dining table. The table I had leveled 3 Christmases ago when the floor joists were sagging. We walked in. Tessa held the cake box in front of her like a shield made of cardboard and frosting. She walked straight to Lucille, my mother, and said, "Grandma, I bought you a cake. With my own money." Lucille looked at the box. Then she looked at Portia. That look lasted 2 seconds, but I have replayed it several hundred times since, and every time I see the same thing, permission being requested. Portia stood up from the table. She walked to Tessa, took the box from her hands, set it on the hallway table, and then she opened the front door. "Outside," Portia said. Tessa did not move. Portia put her hand on Tessa's shoulder and guided her onto the porch. Then she picked up the cake box and set it on the porch railing beside my daughter. "Your little beggar belongs outside. Her cake belongs in the trash. She saved $20 doing dishes?" Portia looked at me. "That is adorable. My children got their grandmother a weekend at the spa. Your daughter bought a grocery store cake with pocket change and walked in here like she did something special. She is 9 years old and she already has your instincts, Donovan, showing up where she is not wanted, offering things nobody asked for, and expecting applause." She closed the front door. Through the window, I could see Tessa standing on the porch with the cake box beside her. She did not knock. She did not cry right away. She stood there for almost a full minute, looking at the door, waiting for someone to open it. Then her chin started to shake, and the tears came. And she sat down on the porch step with the cake in her lap and cried until the 2 candles she had placed on top melted sideways into the frosting. Boyd and Lucille were at the dining table. They could see the porch through the front window. The curtain was pulled to one side. The angle was clear. Lucille looked once, held her fork an inch above her plate, and then turned back to her food. She cut a piece of ham and put it in her mouth. Boyd did not look at all. He was talking to Wesley about a golf tournament. His granddaughter was crying 6 feet away on the other side of glass, and he was describing a birdie on the 9th hole. Portia's 2 kids, both older than Tessa, were at the table. Her son looked at the window, then at Portia, then back at his plate. Her daughter said, "Mom, Tessa is crying." Portia said, "She is fine. Eat your dinner." Ramona came out of the bathroom. She saw the empty hallway, the closed front door and the cake box missing from the table. She looked through the window and her whole body went rigid. She turned to me with an expression I have only seen on her face twice in our marriage, both times when someone was in danger, and she said, "Donovan." 11 seconds passed between the moment Ramona said my name and the moment my hand reached the door handle, long enough to see every person at that table choosing not to move, long enough to measure every dollar I had ever given that family, every pipe I had ever soldered in that house, every Saturday morning I had spent on my knees under their sinks while Portia slept in until noon. The measurement was finished. The pipe was cracked. I knew where to cut. "We are leaving," I said. Not to Portia, not to my parents, to Ramona. I walked out the front door. Tessa was on the step. I picked her up the way I picked her up when she was 4, one arm under her legs and one behind her back, and she pressed her face into my neck. Her tears were warm through my collar. The cake box sat on the railing where Portia had placed it. The candles had melted into the frosting, 2 pink wax streaks through the buttercream letters. The H in happy was covered. The G in grandma was still visible. Ramona grabbed the box. In the car, Tessa did not speak. Ramona held the cake box on her lap with both hands, the way you hold something that has been ruined but still matters. I drove 14 minutes home without saying a word. Every red light felt like a question I did not want to answer yet. When we got inside, Ramona put Tessa in the bath. I could hear the water running upstairs and Ramona's voice, low and steady, saying things I could not make out. Tessa's laughter was missing from the house the way a sound is missing when a clock stops ticking. You do not notice it is gone until the silence becomes its own noise. I sat at the kitchen table with my hands flat on the surface and my jaw locked. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that precedes something structural, the way a ceiling goes silent before a pipe behind the drywall gives way. I reached into Tessa's jacket, which was draped over the chair beside me. In the left pocket, folded once, was the Bellini's receipt. $23.47. Dated May 10. I unfolded it, read it twice, and put it in my wallet behind my driver's license. The paper was soft. It smelled faintly like strawberry frosting. Then I opened my laptop. If you are new here, welcome to Family Secret Tales. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what happened in the next 5 hours changed everything. 5 hours. That is what I had between 6:15 p.m. when we pulled out of my parents' driveway and 11:02 p.m. when I pressed send on a message that turned their family group chat into a room with no exits. People think silence is weakness. In my trade, silence is the diagnostic. You shut off the water, you listen for the drip, and then you know where the pipe is cracked. I had been listening for 10 years. That night, I heard it. Let me explain what I had given that family. I am a licensed plumbing contractor. I own Keller Plumbing and Mechanical. 6 employees, bonded and insured, operating out of a shop behind my house. I started apprenticing under Otis Vance, Ramona's father, when I was 19. Got my journeyman license at 23, my master license at 27. By 30, I had my own company. I know pipe, I know permits, I know code, and I know what a house is worth once you have put your hands through every wall in it. Boyd and Lucille's house on Maple Lane needed everything when I started working on it. I replaced the main sewer line, $14,200 in labor and materials. I rebuilt the upstairs bathroom from the subfloor, $11,600. I installed a tankless water heater and rerouted the hot water supply to the kitchen, $8,400. I ran new drainage for the backyard after it flooded 3 springs in a row, $7,800. I replaced the sump pump, repiped the laundry room, and fixed the kitchen faucet twice. The total, if I had billed at my commercial rate, was $58,000. I never invoiced a dollar. The agreement was simple. Boyd would add my name to the property deed as co-owner. Sweat equity for legal ownership. We shook hands at the kitchen table after I finished the sewer line, the first and biggest job. Lucille was sitting across from us. She said, "This is fair. You earned it." Boyd nodded. He filed the paperwork in March 2 years ago. I confirmed it through the county recorder's office the following week. My name was on the deed. Donovan J. Keller, co-owner, recorded and indexed. I did not ask for rent. I did not ask for a key. I did not change the locks or redecorate or claim a bedroom. I just wanted my name on the house I rebuilt, the same way a carpenter wants his name on the frame he raised. It was not about the money. It was about the recognition that my hands had been inside every wall of that house, and those walls stood because of me. Portia knew about the agreement. She was at the table the day Boyd and Lucille discussed it. She said nothing at the time. She just stirred her coffee and looked at her phone. I also co-signed Portia's small business loan. $45,000 for her boutique, Portia's Closet, on 2nd Avenue. She could not qualify on her own. Her credit score was 591, 2 delinquencies from a department store card, and a history that any commercial lender would flag in the first 30 seconds of review. I put my name on the loan because Lucille asked me to. Sitting at the same kitchen table, using the same voice she used when she said your father would appreciate it. Lucille always knew how to make Roy's ghost do her asking. I paid Boyd and Lucille's water and sewer bill every month, $187, auto pay from my business account. I had been paying it for 4 years. That was $8,976 in utility payments they never acknowledged and never offered to repay. When Portia's storefront pipes burst in February, I drove over on a Saturday morning and spent 9 hours on the shop floor replacing 40 feet of copper supply line. No charge. No thank you. Wesley stood in the back room watching videos on his phone while I sweated pipe joints on my knees, and Portia took inventory 6 feet away without offering me a glass of water. I gave that family everything a plumber can give: my time, my tools, my license, my name on their paper, and the pipes that kept their water running. What I got in return was my daughter locked on a porch with a melting cake while my parents watched through a window and my sister called her a beggar. At 8:30 that evening, I called Otis. Otis Vance is 67 years old, a master plumber for 41 years. He taught me to solder before he taught me to drive, standing in his garage with a propane torch and a length of 1/2-inch copper. The pipe tells you when it is ready, he said. You do not force it. You listen. I got my journeyman license working under his company. When Ramona brought me home for dinner the first time, Otis shook my hand and said, "She told me you are a plumber. Show me your hands." I held them out. He looked at the calluses and said, "Good, those are honest hands." When I told him what happened at Mother's Day dinner, he was quiet for 15 seconds. Then he said, "A pipe that has been cracked for 20 years does not leak until you put pressure on it. You just found the crack. Now you know where to cut." He paused. "Pull the deed. Document everything. Then call a real estate lawyer before you touch anything else." I said, "They retitled it?" Otis said, "Check the permit history. If they pulled any permits after the renovation, the deed holder name will be on the application. If your name is not on it, someone changed the deed." 1 minute of advice from a man who taught me everything I know about pipes, joints, and the things that hold houses together. Practical, not emotional. Exactly right. At 9:14 p.m., I opened the county property records portal. I searched Boyd and Lucille's address on Maple Lane. The permit history showed a minor electrical permit pulled on January 22, 4 months ago, for a panel upgrade. The applicant name on the permit was Boyd A. Keller. The property owner listed was Boyd A. Keller and Lucille M. Keller. My name was not on the deed. I searched the deed transfer records. On January 14, 8 days before the permit, a quitclaim deed had been recorded, transferring the property from Boyd A. Keller, Lucille M. Keller, and Donovan J. Keller to Boyd A. Keller and Lucille M. Keller only. The notarization was performed by a notary registered to Lakeview Title and Escrow. The contact agent listed on the filing was a woman named Bethany Cross. I did not know Bethany Cross, but I knew the name. Portia had mentioned her once at Thanksgiving 2 years ago. College roommate, works in title processing. She can fast-track anything, Portia had said, laughing, tapping her wine glass against Lucille's. Portia had arranged the removal of my name from my parents' deed. She used her college friend to process the quitclaim. My parents signed it. All three of them agreed to erase me from the property I had spent $58,000 and 3 years of my life rebuilding, and they did it while I was still on my knees in their kitchen, fixing the faucet for the second time. January 14, they signed the quitclaim. January 18, I was under their sink with a basin wrench, and Boyd stood above me, talking about the weather. He knew. He had signed 4 days earlier, and he stood there, watching me work on a house my name was no longer on, and he did not say a word. The timeline made sense now. 2 weeks before Mother's Day, Ramona had mentioned that Boyd told her he was thinking about splitting the house equally between Donovan and Portia in his estate plan. Portia must have heard the same thing. Remove Donovan from the deed. Step 1. Make sure Donovan's family feels unwelcome at family gatherings. Step 2. Tessa's cake was not the target. Tessa was the instrument. A 9-year-old girl's strawberry cake threatened Portia's position as the favored daughter, the one who gave the spa weekends and got the inheritance, and Portia responded by locking a child on a porch. The cruelty was not random. It was strategic. I almost turned around. I almost closed the laptop, put my head on the table, and decided that some families are just broken and you walk away. But then I reached into my wallet and touched the Bellini's receipt, and I thought about Tessa counting quarters on her dresser at 7 in the morning, and the laptop stayed open. At 9:45 p.m., I called Otis back. The deed was changed, I said. They used a quitclaim. There is a signature on the grantor line that is supposed to be mine. It is not. Otis was quiet for 3 seconds. Pull the full document image from the county site. Screenshot everything. Then call a real estate attorney first thing Monday. Do not file anything yourself. Let the lawyer tell you what you have. I pulled the full deed image. The signature on the grantor line read Donovan J. Keller in a hand that was not mine. The letters were too round, the pressure too light. And the K had a loop at the top that I have never used in my life. Someone had forged my name on a property document to steal my ownership of a house I rebuilt with my own hands. Between 10 Delaro and 1045, I built the file. 15 years of contracting had taught me that the difference between a complaint and a case is documentation. Complaints get ignored. Cases get resolved. First, evidence for the attorney. I organized the forged deed, the original recorded deed showing my name, every permit I had pulled with my license number on it, material receipts totaling $58,000, and the county property record screenshots. The attorney would determine the filing strategy, but I knew enough from 18 years of contractor disputes to know what I was looking at. Title fraud, forged signature, unjust enrichment, and grounds for a lease pendens that would freeze that property until the court sorted it out. Second, loan guarantee. Portia's $45,000 business loan was approaching its annual renewal date in June. I drafted a formal letter to the bank refusing to renew my personal guarantee, citing material changes in circumstances. Without my guarantee at renewal, the bank would require Portia to find a new qualified cosigner or face revised terms. Third, building code complaint. Wesley had done electrical work on Portia's boutique 6 months ago. Panel replacement, new outlets in the fitting rooms, exterior signage wiring. No permit. No electrical license. I had noticed the work when I was in the shop fixing the pipes in February. The junction boxes were wrong, the grounding looked questionable, the panel cover was missing a knockout plate, and there were exposed conductors near the breaker connections that showed signs of discoloration from overheating. I said nothing at the time because I did not want to create trouble for my sister. That restraint ended at 10:38 p.m. when I filed the complaint through the county's online code enforcement portal, referencing the specific address, the scope of unpermitted work, the exposed conductors, and the absence of any recorded electrical permit. Fourth, the photograph. Ramona had taken it from the car during those 11 seconds, while I stood in the hallway measuring every person at that table. Tessa on the porch step, cake box in her lap, face red, 2 melted candles leaning sideways, tears on her chin. Through the front window behind her, clearly visible, Boyd and Lucille at the dining table, plates in front of them, forks in their hands. They were eating. The timestamp on the photo reads Sunday, Mother's Day, 5:47 p.m. At 11:02 p.m., I opened the family group chat. 11 members. Boyd, Lucille, Portia, Wesley, me, Ramona, 2 cousins, an aunt, and Lucille's sister. I typed one message. This afternoon, Portia locked my 9-year-old daughter on the porch with the cake Tessa bought with her own savings and called her a beggar. Mom and Dad watched through the window and did nothing. Below are 4 attachments. The first is a photo of Tessa crying on the porch while my parents ate dinner. The second is a quitclaim deed filed January 14, removing my name from the Maple Lane property, bearing a forged signature after I invested $58,000 in renovations. The third is my attorney's intent to file a quiet title and unjust enrichment action challenging the forged deed and seeking a lease pendens on the property. The fourth is my refusal to renew the personal guarantee on Portia's business loan. I have also filed a building code complaint regarding unpermitted electrical work at Portia's closet on 2nd Avenue. Do not call me tonight. I attached all 4 documents in the photo. I pressed send. Then I turned off my phone, set it face down on the kitchen counter, and went to check on Tessa. She was asleep in her bed, still wearing her church dress, 1 sock on and 1 sock off. The mason jar on her dresser was empty. The masking tape label was peeling at one corner, Grandma's Cake Fund. I pressed the tape back down and stood there for a long time. Ramona found me in the hallway outside Tessa's room at 11:30. She had read the group chat. Boyd responded, she said. He said you are overreacting and this is not the time for family business. Ramona paused. Then your cousin Amy responded with the crying emoji and asked what happened. Then Portia wrote 3 paragraphs about how you are being vindictive over a misunderstanding. Then Lucille wrote, please stop this. Then 2 people left the chat. I did not ask which 2. I went to bed. The phone stayed on the counter until morning. If you are enjoying this story, please like the video and subscribe to Family Secret Tales. Trust me, you do not want to miss what came next. Monday morning, 7:48 a.m. I turned my phone on. 41 unread messages in the group chat and 14 missed calls. Boyd had called 9 times between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Portia had called 3 times Monday morning. Lucille had called twice. The group chat had spiraled overnight. Boyd had tried to frame the deed issue as a family misunderstanding. Portia had written that I was weaponizing a business dispute. Cousin Amy had asked, wait, Donovan paid for the renovations and they forged his signature to take his name off the house? Nobody answered her. Lucille had posted a single message at 2:14 a.m. This is a private matter. Please do not share this outside the family. By morning, 3 more people had left the chat. I read none of the messages past Ramona's summary. At 8:30 a.m., I met with a real estate attorney named Hayes, whom Otis had recommended. I showed him the forged deed, the original recorded deed with my name, the permits, and the material receipts. Hayes looked at the forged signature for 15 seconds and said, the documented compensation agreement and the forged signature create serious legal exposure for everyone involved in this transfer. I can file a quiet title action challenging the deed, an unjust enrichment claim for the $58,000 in labor and materials, and record a lease pendens against the property today. A lease pendens is a public notice that a property is subject to pending litigation. No normal buyer, lender, or title company would proceed with any transaction on the house until the claim was resolved, paid, or bonded off. Hayes filed the lease pendens by noon. It appeared on the property title within 48 hours. I also mailed the guarantee non-renewal letter to the bank, with a copy to Portia at the boutique address. Tuesday afternoon, Kendrick Holt from County Code Enforcement called the boutique to schedule an inspection for Thursday. Portia texted me 7 times in 90 minutes. I did not respond. Wednesday morning, the loose pendens notice arrived at Boyd and Lucille's house by certified mail, along with a quiet title complaint. Boyd opened it at the kitchen table, the same table where he had promised me co-ownership 3 years ago. He called me at 11:04 a.m. I let it ring. I almost answered. I had my thumb on the green button when the phone lit up with his name, but I heard Otis's voice in my head, steady and flat. Call the lawyer. Do not touch anything else yourself. I put the phone down. Boyd called a real estate attorney that afternoon. The attorney told him the forged deed claim and the documented compensation agreement created serious exposure and could keep the title tied up for months. There was no quick fix. Thursday, Kendrick Holt arrived at Portia's closet at 9:15 and with a clipboard and a county vehicle. He spent 40 minutes in the building. Wesley's electrical work failed on 4 counts, no permit for the panel upgrade, improper grounding on 4 outlets in the fitting rooms, exterior signage wiring that did not meet commercial code, and exposed energized conductors inside the panel showing evidence of overheating. The overheating was an immediate safety hazard. Kendrick posted a yellow closed pending inspection notice on the front door at 10:02 a.m. The landlord received a copy of the inspection report by end of day, as required by the county's code enforcement procedure. Per the lease terms, the landlord forwarded the notice to the commercial property insurer. By Friday morning, the insurer had requested documentation of all electrical work performed on the premises. 3 customers arrived between 10 and noon Thursday. They saw the sign, read it, and left. One of them posted a photo of the sign on a neighborhood Facebook group with the caption, "Anyone know what happened at Portia's closet?" By Thursday evening, the post had 47 comments. The following Thursday, 10 days after I mailed the guarantee non-renewal, the bank completed its review of Portia's financials and notified her that the loan would not be renewed without a qualified guarantor. She had until the renewal date in June to find one, or the bank would begin restructuring discussions. Last February, Portia had emailed me her aged payables report while asking me to help with a loan extension. It showed $12,000 in unpaid vendor invoices. I had not mentioned it at the time, but I knew what Portia's financial picture looked like, and I knew no bank would renew a $45,000 unsecured loan for a borrower with a 591 credit score and $12,000 in unpaid vendors. Thursday at 6 p.m., Boyd called again. This time I answered. "Come over," Boyd said. His voice was flat, the way voices get when someone has rehearsed what they are going to say, but has not rehearsed being told no. "We need to sort this out. Portia and Wesley are here. Your mother is upset. I drove to Maple Lane. Ramona stayed home with Tessa. I brought nothing with me except what I already knew." Boyd, Lucille, Portia, and Wesley were in the living room. Portia was standing by the fireplace with her arms crossed. Wesley was on the couch with his phone face down on his knee. Boyd was in his recliner. Lucille was in the kitchen, pretending to wash dishes she had already washed. Boyd opened. "You need to undo whatever you did with that lawsuit filing. This is our house. You had no right." I sat down across from him. I did not open a folder. I did not raise my voice. I asked a question. "When was my name removed from the deed?" Boyd's jaw shifted. "That was a reorganization. Your mother and I decided to simplify the ownership structure. Whose signature is on the grantor line?" Silence. "It says Donovan J. Keller, but it is not my handwriting. Who signed my name?" Boyd looked at the carpet. "Who processed the transfer at Lakeview Title?" Portia uncrossed her arms. "That has nothing to do with what you did to my shop. Your shop has unpermitted electrical work with exposed conductors that the inspector flagged as a fire hazard. Who did that wiring?" Wesley shifted on the couch. He looked at Portia. Portia did not look back. Did Wesley have an electrical license when he wired the panel, the fitting room outlets, and the exterior signage? "He watched videos," Portia said. "He knew what he was doing. The county inspector found exposed energized conductors with overheating damage, improper grounding on 4 outlets, and a panel upgrade with no permit. Your landlord has already forwarded the report to your insurer." Did you know that unpermitted work can void your commercial property insurance? Portia's arms were crossed, tighter this time. Your boutique owes $45,000 on a loan I guaranteed because your credit score was 591. Last February, you emailed me your age payables report asking for help with the loan extension. It showed $12,000 in unpaid vendor invoices. Your husband did electrical work without a license, without a permit, and left exposed conductors in the panel that the inspector called a fire hazard. And someone forged my signature on a quitclaim deed to steal my ownership of a house I earned with $58,000 in labor and materials, using your college roommate at a title company 4 months ago, while I was still in their kitchen fixing a faucet. I looked at Boyd. You signed that deed on January 14. I was at your house on January 18, replacing the shutoff valve under your kitchen sink. 4 days after my name was forged off the deed, I was on my back under your counter with a basin wrench, and you stood over me drinking coffee and talking about the weather. I stood up. The little beggar's father built every pipe in this house. The little beggar's $23 is more than Portia has ever contributed to this family. And the man who shows up where he is not wanted, he just stops showing up. Measure that. Portia tried first. You are going to destroy my business over a cake, a children's cake. This is insane, Donovan. Over a 9-year-old girl who saved 4 months of chore money to buy her grandmother a birthday cake and got locked on a porch for it. Over that girl sitting in the cold while her grandparents ate dinner 6 feet away. Over a family that took my name off their deed while I was still working in their house. That is not insane. That is arithmetic. Wesley tried. I can fix the electrical. I will pull the permit this time. You cannot pull an electrical permit without a license. A licensed electrician will need to redo the work and certify it before the county releases the inspection hold. I have done this for 18 years. I know what it costs. Wesley sat back down. Portia tried again, her voice climbing. You are doing this because you have always been jealous. You have always resented that Mom and Dad trust me more. You built yourself into this family with a wrench and a checkbook, and now that someone told you the truth about your daughter's little stunt, you are throwing a tantrum. Nobody told me the truth. The county property records told me the truth. Your college friend at Lakeview Title told me the truth. The bank's loan file told me the truth. And the photograph of my daughter crying on that porch while 2 adults watched through a window told me the truth. I did not need your version. Boyd leaned forward one more time. He put his hands together like he was praying, which I had never seen him do in 34 years. We can put your name back on the deed. I will call the title company tomorrow. This does not have to go further. The list pendens is recorded. The quiet title action names the forged deed specifically. Until the court resolves it, that property does not move, and the guarantee non-renewal is final. Portia has until June to find a new co-signer, or the bank restructures the loan. Lucille appeared in the kitchen doorway, dish towel in her hands, eyes red. Donovan, please, your father is sorry. We can fix this. We can put your name back. We can make Portia apologize. Just please drop the lawsuit. I looked at my mother, the woman who watched my daughter cry through a window and turned back to her ham. I almost forgave them, not for the deed, not for the money, for the look on Lucille's face, which for 1 second resembled the mother I remembered from before Portia learned to manage her. But then I thought about Tessa's receipt, $23.47, and the candles melting sideways into the frosting while Lucille cut her ham and swallowed without chewing, and the second passed. You forged the deed 4 months ago. I built that house with my hands. The lawsuit is already filed. Boyd's mouth opened. Nothing came out. His hands slid off his knees into his lap. His shoulders dropped 2 inches. He looked at the wall behind me where a family photo hung, the one from 3 Thanksgivings ago, all of us together, and his eyes stayed there like he was looking for someone in the frame who could help him. Portia's jaw tightened. Her breathing changed, shorter and sharper, audible from across the room. She unfolded her arms and put both hands on the mantel behind her, leaning into it like the fireplace was the only thing holding her upright. Her eyes moved to the floor and stayed there. Wesley stood up from the couch. He looked at the front door, then at Portia, then sat back down without saying anything. His phone was still face down on his knee. "There will be no more free plumbing," I said. "No more Saturday mornings in Portia's shop. No more water bills paid from my account. No more faucets fixed at midnight. No more showing up where I am not wanted." This family had a plumber who worked for free. A son who put nearly $67,000 in labor, materials, and utilities into this family before counting the boutique work or the loan guarantee. And a granddaughter who spent 4 months saving for a cake. You locked one outside and stole from the other. I am done being both. I walked to the front door, opened it, looked at the porch where Tessa had sat 5 days ago. The spot where she cried was directly in front of the window where Boyd and Lucille had been eating. "Do not call Ramona. Do not call Tessa's school. Do not show up at my shop. If you want to discuss the lawsuit, call my attorney." His card is in the envelope I mailed with the filing. The door closed behind me, and I drove home in 12 minutes of silence. Portia called a licensed electrician the following Monday. He spent 2 hours inspecting Wesley's work before delivering his estimate. $18,200 to bring the boutique into compliance, new panel, rewired outlets, permitted signage connection, full inspection certification. Portia asked if there was a cheaper option. The electrician said the cheaper option was doing it right the first time. Portia did not have $18,200. She did not have $1,800. Her boutique had been closed for 6 days, and every day it stayed closed, the vendor invoices grew interest, and the lease payment came due without revenue. She sat in the dark fitting room on the bench where customers used to try on dresses and scrolled through the estimate on her phone. The closed pending inspection sign was still taped to the front door. She could see it through the glass, the yellow paper catching the streetlight. No one had tried the handle in 2 days. The bank sent Portia a formal notice on day 12. Without a qualified co-signer or a refinancing plan, the $45,000 loan would enter review for accelerated repayment at the 30-day mark. Portia called 4 people that week asking if they would co-sign. 2 declined before she finished the sentence. 1 did not answer and never returned the voicemail. The 4th, Wesley's brother, said he would think about it. He never called back. Wesley came home from work on day 16 and found the notice from his own insurance company. The commercial property insurer had requested documentation of the electrical work at the boutique. Without a permit on file, the policy was under review. Wesley read the letter at the kitchen table, folded it in half, and put it in his jacket pocket without telling Portia. Boyd and Lucille's attorney advised them the following week that resolving the forged deed claim would require either a negotiated settlement restoring Donovan's name to the deed, plus reimbursement of documented costs, or a court proceeding that could take months. The list pendens would remain on the title for the duration. No buyer, lender, or title company would touch the property until the litigation was resolved. The neighborhood Facebook post about the boutique's closed sign reached 112 comments before the group administrator locked it. Several former customers posted that they had moved their shopping to a consignment store 2 blocks east. One wrote, "I like the clothes, but something always felt off about the management." Another wrote, "Hope everything is okay." Nobody wrote, "I hope she reopens." Portia saw the thread because Wesley's sister sent her a screenshot. She read every comment, then put her phone in a drawer and did not open it again until morning. If this story hit you, subscribe to Family Secret Tales, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. 3 weeks later. Sunday morning. My workshop behind the house, the one Otis helped me frame when I first opened the business. The concrete floor was swept clean. The workbench ran along the back wall, 6 feet of butcher block I had salvaged from a kitchen demolition job, sanded smooth and sealed with polyurethane. Pegboard above it with every wrench, fitting, and soldering tool organized by size the way Otis taught me. Largest on the left, smallest on the right, everything within arm's reach. A paying client's kitchen faucet sat on the bench. Cartridge pulled, New ceramic seats ready to press in. Ordinary work for a man who is good with his hands and chooses where those hands go. Tessa sat on the stool beside the bench. Her legs dangled 6 inches above the floor. She was holding a pipe wrench with both hands, the 12-inch one. The same wrench Otis gave me the day I got my journeyman license. She held it the way I had taught her, handle toward me, no talking until the joint was tight, ready when I asked. "Wrench," I said. She passed it handle first without hesitation. I tightened the fitting, felt it seat, and nodded. She watched the way she always watched me work, with her chin slightly forward and her eyes on the joint, like she was memorizing a conversation she would have with her own hands someday. Above the bench, pinned to the corkboard with a yellow thumbtack, was the Bellini's receipt. $23.47. Strawberry cake. May 10. The paper had softened at the fold, but the numbers were still clear. Beside it, held with a second thumbtack, was a photo Ramona had printed. Tessa at the bakery counter, standing on her toes, handing the Ziploc bag of coins to the woman behind the register. She was smiling in the photo. She was proud. Ramona stood in the workshop doorway holding 2 mugs, one for me and one for her, and a juice box tucked under her arm for Tessa. She set my mug on the bench and kissed the top of Tessa's head. The radio was playing something with a slow guitar and a steel pedal. Late morning light came through the shop windows and caught the chrome fittings on the pegboard. No group chat. The group no longer existed because I had left it the morning after the confrontation and nobody had tried to add me back. Tessa looked at the receipt on the corkboard. She had asked me once why I kept it. I told her, because you earned it. She handed me the next fitting without being asked. A 9-year-old girl who saved $23.47 over 4 months to buy a cake for a grandmother who watched her cry through a window. That receipt is worth more than $58,000 in sweat equity, more than a deed with my name on it, more than every pipe I ever soldered in a house that was never really mine. The workshop was warm. The faucet was almost done. My daughter's hands were learning what mine already knew. Quiet that belongs to the people who built it.